Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. Watch the Game Podcast. I'm your man, L.A. Cheatham.
Benjamin Banneker, good people. What's up, Benjamin Banneker, good people? Guess what? My team playing the NBA Finals tonight, good people.
Yeah, I see you got your Nike Rerun T-shirt on. Am I correct?
Oh
Is that
yeah,
what that's?
yeah, yeah. Rerun, you know.
That's really fitting for tonight's matchup because before we get to the main course of the NBA Finals, Game One tonight, I want to kind of cover the two matchups that these two teams played earlier in the season, and two very different basketball games. But before we get into that, um, you know, the family has grown, and I just knew you would have Lincoln on camera tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, the new proud papa of Lincoln, Justice, Hillary Hudson,
Yeah, got it. You got it.
your man Benjamin Banneker. Pen, what's up, man?
He,
How's Lincoln doing?
he sleep right now. He know not to make no noise right now. But I will say though, uh, we was up 3-0 on Boston when Lincoln got here, and we watched game 4, lost. Then we lost game 5. And I'm like, hold on, bro. Like, you done brought some bad juju into the world. Something, what's going on? Lost game 6 on the tip in by Derek White at the end. I'm like, listen, we got to pull this out. We finally pulled it out in game 7. I guess Lil Link wanted us to have some extra basketball because he knew he was gonna be doing a lot of sleeping his first week. So he gave us some extra basketball, but we got to the NBA Finals. He will be plugged in watching the game with me tonight. So it's been
Yeah.
dope so far.
What you got him? He got any Heat gear as of yet? I know he probably got him some Wolverine gear right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know he got some Wolverine gear. He got some Wolverine gear. His Heat gear a little bit too big, so we ain't put it on yet. But
Yeah.
you know he got it.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we're gonna kind of touch on these matchups, man. Looking ahead, you know, we talk about the NBA playoffs. I was talking about me personally. I feel like the first round of the NBA playoffs needs to go back to the 5 game format, the best out
Yeah.
of five, some way, somehow. And then when I looked at this setup for the finals, two teams with two totally different paths to get here. Um, but if we play this thing out for 7 games, we set up to go 18 days into the month of June.
Which is trash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some positives to that from a perspective of when you look at the guys actually playing in the games, the coaches making the game to game adjustments. They got time to rest up guys, time to get the adjustments made. But from an entertainment, sports entertainment, I guess they're not really competing against anything else other than the NHL, hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs, and
Right.
Major League Baseball. But like I said, it's it's a long ass playoff, man. We go 7 games with this. We going from June 1st tonight, and this thing will stretch out to Father's Day, June 18th, Sunday, June the 18th. Um, how you feel about that, man?
I don't like it at all. Me and Cutter Pac Man, we was on the phone talking about it. I think that was yesterday, and I was just like, if both conference finals had been a sweep, we would have had 8 days without any basketball. We'd have had 8 days, so we'd have just regurgitated a whole lot of the same storylines over and over and over, which they have done for the last at least 48 hours that we kind of tired of hearing. And I'm just like, if one of your biggest issues with the players is not getting rest, why are you pre-mandating when the NBA Finals is gonna start? When them series wrap up, both teams get 2 or 3 days off, and let's kick it off. If the series end on Monday, because you know they like to do Thursday, Sunday, You know, if the series wrap up on Monday, let's kick this thing off on Thursday, wrap this thing up quickly so that you can have a longer summer vacation. Because when you're playing into June and then you got to turn around and be in training camp, in September, that ain't no time off. And a lot of these guys take maybe 2 weeks off and then they right back in the lab working on their game to get ready for the next season. That's not enough time off. So, and then you lead to a lot of load management issues. I think the NBA season kicks off now. Is in October, so that's like week 4 of the
close to
NFL
Halloween.
season.
Yeah.
Like before Halloween, maybe like mid-October it kicks off now. So this is just one of the things that I'm not a fan of about the NBA. Like I said, Adam Silver has done a great job in increasing revenue for the NBA, but as far as tradition, I think he's removed a lot of tradition out of the game. We always talk about the home and away jerseys. There's no playoff sign on the court no more. They don't even have it on the bottom of the stanchion on the basket no more. We might be watching later on in life. We go back and look at YouTube. We see these two teams playing. It's no indication that this is the NBA finals. So I miss all that.
I have a hard time believing that they're not going to brand this thing tonight. Probably two teams that, if you think about it, maybe they may be a little concerned about the ratings going into this game one. The Heat coming out the 8th seed out of the play-in. Now they get all the way to the finals, knocked out the number 1 seed, the Bucks. Then they knock out the number 2 seed. They just knocked the number 2 seed, the Celtics, out of the Eastern Conference Finals. And Denver, on the other hand, it seemed like it's been a month already. And I forget how many days it's been since they swept the Lakers. But it seemed like it's been a month to me. Yeah. But like you said, Boston and Miami had Boston down 3-0. We kind of thought both teams would sweep. Well, honestly, I thought the Lakers would get one game against Denver. That didn't happen. So that was a sweep. And then we just knew at that point, okay, Miami gonna take care of business. I thought the Lakers would win a game before. I thought the Celtics looked like they were dead in the water as far as them being down 0-3. You know, because they were going on the road to Miami, and the Lakers are in a different situation. They were down going home, and they had 2 home games in games 3 and 4 of the Western Conference Finals. But
when the Celtics got that game 4, we was pretty much assured that that series was going 6 games. I don't think we both was confident in Miami going up to Boston, closing that thing out in 5. Especially with the performance they had just put on display in game 4.
Yeah. Especially when you think about the performances that Jimmy had in games 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
It really got concerning. For you with being a Miami Heat fan, and myself just trying to figure out what's going on with Jimmy. And then from an NBA perspective, they were getting exactly what they wanted. I kept thinking in the back of my mind, we're going to mess around and get a Memorial Day game, and that's going to be exactly
what we got,
what the NBA wanted. Now, when I thought about that, I'm saying, so TNT wins, the NBA wins, and the fans that bought tickets win.
Right.
Depends on how you look at it.
Right.
Because when they went to Boston, game 7, someone paid $27,000 for a ticket to that game. Now, if you were a Heat fan, I don't know if it was worth it. That's a hell of a price to go to a basketball game. And then if you're a Boston fan, you most definitely, for that kind of money, man. But then
remind me of Uncle Wheat. You know about Uncle Wheat. It remind me of diehard Chicago Cubs fan. Lives in Jacksonville, Florida. When they was in the World Series, bought last minute tickets to I think game 4, which they Cubs ended up losing, flies up here for less than 24 hours to go to the game. They lose, flies back. He spent a pretty penny on that game. And I'm like, was it really worth it? And this is something we always talk about when we go into the big house too. Do we want to see a game or do we want to see him win? Because that $150 price tag plus travel plus eating, everything.
It's more so the travel than the ticket price at that point.
Yeah.
When you talk about going to the big house in Michigan. But like I said, there's a pretty steep price to pay. I can only imagine what the price is in Denver. It'd probably be a whole lot more if it was in LA.
Oh yeah.
And I think the price in Miami is going to pretty much hold its value because it's Miami. And maybe if the finals would have went to Boston, it probably would have had the same amount of value between Miami, LA, and the value would have been probably the same. But in Denver, I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting to know what these fans are willing to pay for a ticket, game one or finals games in Denver. First time Denver's been to the NBA finals in the organization's history. So since this is the first time in the history of the franchise going to the NBA finals, the Denver Nuggets is one of the teams that merged into the NBA when the ABA and the NBA merged. I think they added 4 teams. It was the Nuggets,
Pacers,
the Nets, the Pacers, and
Spurs.
the Spurs. Yeah, and the Spurs. So the Spurs have won a championship. Who else? The Spurs won a championship. Who else did we have?
The Nets played. The Nets played.
The Nets played in the championship. They played in the finals.
Years. Yeah,
and the Pacers lost to the Lakers in the finals. And now it is Denver with their first opportunity to go to the finals and probably favored to win in the finals. So I'm gonna let you get some off your chest. Then I'm gonna jump off into these first 2 matchups because I had an opportunity to watch a couple playbacks on the 2 matchups between these 2 teams. First one on December 30th in Miami, I believe it was.
The first one was in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ball
so
Arena. Yep.
Okay. So two matchups, 2 totally different games, and there was some key players in these 2 ball games that played in these games that probably won't even see the floor in these finals. What you got?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the box score because I was heavy in my college basketball. I'm looking at the box score. Your boy Haywood Highsmith started that December 30th game, and we was on the text thread going back and forth. You was like, put him in the game, and I'm like, man, we need somebody who can score. You like, no, you need somebody who can defend. And lo and behold, he come in the game, make 2 big plays back to back. So I was like, thank you, Haywood Highsmith. So he started that December 30th game. Looked like Bam had 22, 2, and 7. If Bam have a game like that in the NBA Finals, I will be elated because that dude has the worst touch, the worst feet, the worst hands, the worst handle I've seen in a long time to be considered a number 2 option, a go-to cog in their offense. Tyler Hero played in that game. He had 26. Kyle Lowry didn't do much of nothing. Kyle Lowry pretty much did what he's doing right now, but he played 32 minutes in that game. He had 3 points and 3 assists.
And then now Denver won this game 124-119. And at the end of this game, Jamal Murray had 5 big points at the end of this game. As you can see, high scoring game. Tyler Hero had a really good game, 26 and 10. But as we talked before we went on, man, there's some things about this lineup, and all playoff long, I've been, at least for the last playoff, when I was like, where is, with the Eastern Conference Finals, where is Miami needs a legitimate backup for Bam Adebayo. I think he's been playing out of position pretty much ever since he's been in Miami. I know they got Cody Zeller. I felt like they could do a little bit better than that, but Cody Zeller is pretty much like his game is the equivalent of getting on the bike and riding the bike because he's just getting exercise. You know what I'm saying? He's
Some
not really
cardio.
filling up the yeah. He's not really filling up the stat. I don't even know if he's using all of his fouls properly. But I brought that up to bring up the fact that where is this kid Orlando Robinson, a rookie 7-footer out of Fresno State, 13-5 in the game in Denver on December 30th, and then Max Strus came off the bench with 19. That's big. That's big time scoring coming off the bench from reserves at them two positions. With Max Strus, he's still in the mix, getting his minutes. He's been, sometimes I've thrown into the starters role from time to time. But I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened to Orlando Robinson. Is he injured?
Oh, I can
Some
tell you where he
decent
at.
numbers.
He is currently on the
Those are
Sioux
decent numbers
Falls.
to get when you playing Mile High. Where is that?
He's currently on the Sioux Falls Skyforce.
He's G League now, huh?
He's G League right now because I'm gonna take a guess what happened when they signed Kevin Love. They probably had to clear up a roster spot, and they probably was like, you know what, we got Kevin for the rest of the season. We got valuable playoff experience. This kid's 6'10", quite not ready for the limelight, so they probably bumped him down to because he played in both games. And I believe Kevin Love was signed right before the trade deadline after he got bought out by Cleveland. I think maybe his first game was around that time, February 13th. So I'm guessing that's probably what happened. Just not enough minutes to go around. Plus, they weren't about to do nothing with UD. You know he's a coach in a uniform, so he had to stay. But yeah, that's where he's at, man. He's in the G League. He's in the G League.
The thing is, okay, when you talk about that game, I think this series is pretty much gonna come down to the role players. And in that first matchup, Denver was led by Caldwell Pope. He put up 20, and what did Jokic? Jokic had 19, 12, and 12. Good game for Joker. Murray had 14 and 6 assists, 2 rebounds. But that's a lot of points, man. 124 to 18. And I think it pretty much, when I looked at it, came down to some turnovers, some key turnovers at the end of that game for Miami. The reason why they didn't want able to pull that game out. So if you're concerned about whether or not Miami can go down there and compete in the altitude, they can do so. They've done it already. The question is, what kind of legs do they have going in? Coming out of a 7-game series with Boston, and how they're going to match up. I think this is a big game for both teams. I mean, obviously, if it's game one of the NBA Finals, who you think is more important? Need this game tonight?
Well, the Heat done won every game one in the playoff run so far. This go around, so I'm gonna go with the Heat again tonight. I definitely think they're gonna cover. They 8.5 point underdog, so that will be on my FanDuel parlay for them to get that cover in. But I think the Heat gonna win tonight. This is Denver, like you said, Denver's first time in the NBA Finals. First time.
You consider what 9 games off?
Right. Other than KCP, then we bring that question up. What do you want? Do you want rest or do you want rhythm? The Heat are in a great rhythm right now, especially their role players. When you look at Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson has found his stroke again. I think he's shooting close to 50% from 3. You got Kyle Lowry. Now, Kyle Lowry hit some big buckets in Game 7, but in Game 6 and 5, he was trash. Jimmy looks like he kind of found his way again in Game 7. And I do think Jimmy will have more of a playoff Jimmy type series that we saw versus Milwaukee, that we saw versus the Knicks, versus those 3 games in the middle versus Boston, because he was having a lot of trouble with Robert Williams. He was too relying on the pump fake. It was almost like he would glitch up when he'd get by his man. He just had to throw that pump fake in there 2 times, and then by that time, defense had recovered. Then he had to do something else. So I don't think we'll see a lot of that this series. We Gabe Vincent again. Gabe Vincent has taken solid ownership of that starting point guard role. I really like him in that role, getting the lion's share of the minutes over Kyle Lowry. It really comes down to, is Strus going to be able to give you some valuable minutes at the starting two guard? I'm confident in Duncan Robinson. I'm confident in Gabe Vincent. Is Bam going to be able to give me something where I'm not texting you throughout the game saying trade this dude right now? I would have traded him before the trophy presentation in Game 7, okay? Because I'm so sick of this dude. Can Bam give you
does
something?
have a tendency to miss a lot of bunnies.
And he got one move, that spin move.
Yeah, and he don't go to it enough. He actually don't go to it enough because at times he's drawn a small defender like White was guarding him on one, and he act like he didn't know how to drop his back foot and just get to the basket. Seems like at times he struggles to play with his back to the basket. I can understand when you got a guy that's your equal height or bigger. When you got a small guy on you, you should be able to drop step. I mean, those guys, they play up under him. I know, I see the technique they're using, but the footwork for Bam is just very inconsistent. Like you said, he has that spin move, but sometimes seems like he forgets about it. And I think that could be his foundation for his footwork. Figure out what direction you're gonna go in and go with it. But for some reason, he just can't put it all together for a whole game. It's like he'll have a big quarter or something like that. Now, one thing I was concerned about with Bam, I kept telling you, why is he bringing the ball up the court? Just like I did with Aaron Gordon with Denver against the Lakers. But when I looked at these two matchups, Bam bringing the ball up the court against Joker, it might be a little bit of an advantage. Only if Bam plays downhill with the dribble. Now, if he's going to get there and just stop at the free throw line and turn the ball over, like he did several times against the Celtics when they were losing, then it's trouble just like playing any other team. But the reason why I say is because you could wear the Joker down, maybe pick up a few cheap fouls, get him on the bench, get into that lineup, trying to figure out, who else they got coming. But I brought up a dude, Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant, DeAndre Jordan, the guys are sitting on their bench. Now, when you talk about Denver, you're talking about guys like Caldwell Pope stepping up. Of course, Jamal Murray doing his thing. Caldwell Pope, Bruce Brown. I mean, they can equal the Gabe Vincent and the output of Caleb Martin. Now, Caleb Martin, I think we could pretty much say at this point, he might be more of a second option than Bam Adebayo right now.
Thank you. Yes.
Some may think that he probably even should have been the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how I felt.
He should have.
But the only thing I got was Jimmy got him off to the good start. And I know they want to do the PR thing. It's about, building up players and selling players and they gave Jimmy his props, showed him his respect, gave him his MVP, but maybe even Jimmy would probably feel like, Caleb probably should have won MVP. But I get it. It's Jimmy. Jimmy's been around for a while. You know what I'm saying? But Caleb stepped up big in that series. The question is, can he continue to play at the level he's at? I think him, Caldwell Pope, Bruce Brown, and along with his teammate Gabe Vincent, their importance to this series is pretty much a foregone conclusion. I mean, they got to play well for either one of these teams to win. Those guys have to play well. They mean too much at this point. But for Miami, what you gonna do about Joker as far as, how you gonna match up with him? Do you roll out Cody Zeller? Is Kevin Love gonna go get more minutes in this series?
Now you nailed it. Yes, Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love will be the X factor. This is why you got Kevin Love. Why when he was bought out, why you signed him for this series? Well, rounds like this, he's got championship experience. We know he can shoot the three and stretch the floor. He still can go out there and get you 6+ rebounds in the limited minutes that he's playing. He got 6 fouls, big body, 6'10". He can match up against Joker. Kevin Love will be not a focal point. He'll be an X factor in this series. And if Tyler Hero comes back and can give us 12 points a game off the bench, that thing can tip really. That thing can tip really fast in Miami Heat's favor. So now I'm on record. I've picked Miami to lose every playoff series this run. So if I'm betting my money, I'm saying Denver in 6. But I gotta see it happen. I gotta see it happen. It's not just no foregone conclusion. Again, Denver hasn't been in this moment before, and I think my Heat culture is real, and the experience that Miami is bringing to the party, coupled with Jimmy, I think he'll have a better series. Coupled with Kevin Love, Denver might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, when I looked at the two playbacks on them 2 games, I don't see a blowout either way. The reason why is because I think these games gonna be highly competitive, just basing it on the 2 matchups from earlier this season. A lot of guys got to play in those 2 games. Some guys may not play in these games, but when you consider that tonight is game 1 NBA Finals, and then they come back, they get Friday, Saturday, and come back Sunday. Well, in these games, in between games, you're gonna have time to rest. You're gonna have time to rest, especially like in between travel days. So this is why I think we won't see any blowouts in this series because the guy's gonna have the opportunity to be as fresh as possible, barring injury. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, no one sustained any big injuries in this game, but in these games. But I do not think you're gonna see a blowout either way. I really don't. I think these teams matched up so well during the regular season. Uh, I'm gonna pick the Heat to split
For
game 1
sure.
tonight. I'm gonna give to the Heat because I think they're gonna go out and they're gonna have they already got a rhythm, and they got the layoff and the finals hype for Denver playing at home. Kind of like you remember in 91 when the Bulls had their first NBA Finals, just the whole hype of the NBA Finals coming to town. Um, it was just so much to do for the city, for the players to adjust to. They lost game 1. Kind of in that fashion. I'm gonna
On a
go
last
with
second
Miami
bike shot.
tonight. Yeah, well, I don't know if it's gonna be that dramatic. I think Miami is going to get off to a good start, and I think they're going to probably survive tonight because I do think that Denver's going to find a rhythm somewhere around late second quarter, early third quarter, and I see the Heat kind of hanging on tonight, winning game 1, and then I can kind of see Denver maybe coming in with a little bit better rhythm in game 2.
Hey, I'm right with you. I'm right with you. If the Heat are going to have a chance to win this series, you got to get a split. And then again, I'm just looking at this team's playoff history. They've won every game 1 so far in this playoffs. So I expect that to continue tonight. I'm taking the Heat to win. Let me ask you this, though. Will the NBA Finals be more competitive than the conference final? I know the Heat just went 7 games. They was up 3-0, but we had talk about Boston quitting. Should Joe Mazzulla be fired? Do he know what he's doing? Really, Miami probably won 5 games in that series and lost 2. If you take the Derek White tip in away. So do you think the NBA Finals will be more competitive than what we saw on both conference finals?
Yes, I do because Mike Malone and your man in
Spo?
Spoelstra. I think you got 2 coaches that are well prepared and just probably enjoy coaching their teams at this point. I don't think that they're going to allow them these games to get too far away from each other. I mean, as far as runs being made in each game, I think we might be in for some long nights because I can see both of these coaches blowing, taking well advantage of their clock management, making the adjustments, calling their timeouts. Not like with Joe Mazzulla, you know, it was kind of iffy. You know, he would let the Miami Heat go on too big of a run, wouldn't make adjustments, wouldn't call timeout. And I just don't think the Mike Malone or Spoelstra either way is going to allow that to happen. So with that being said, I'm expecting a more competitive series on that alone. Also, when you think about this series and you think about the NBA, the last few days I've been thinking about it. I've had to lower my expectations for basketball to a degree when you talk about the NBA and lean a little bit more to sports entertainment. And I'm still battling with that. I'm trying to, like just enjoy the game for what it is, not at what it used to be. But I do think from a basketball perspective, strategically, these two coaches are going to coach the hell out these teams, and we're going to get better basketball. And that's just the bottom line. Now, you talk about if it would have been the Lakers and the Celtics, it'd have been more like sports entertainment, if you get
Oh
my
yeah,
drift. It'd
yeah,
have been more
yeah.
about the storylines, more about the
The
rivalry.
franchises, yeah.
This is a basketball series. It's not sport, it's sports entertainment. And I believe in these series, in this series, Miami and Denver, they already have a lot of people probably don't remember. You probably remember by you being a Heat fan. They already have some kind of bad blood between Joker and Jimmy from about 2 years ago,
Yep.
2001.
When he
So
hit Markieff Morris. Yep.
yeah, so that's your. I mean, if you want to blow it out of proportion, Markeith Morris isn't on the team anymore. So I think he kind of played that off. But if from a marketing standpoint, if you want to play that up to make it seem as if there's some type of beef between these two teams, I think they played twice since then. We just talked about them two games. I mean, the second game in Miami, I think it was Denver won like 112 to 108, and that was a more your superstar game. Uh, Hero didn't play in that game; he was injured. Jimmy Butler put up 24, and Strus had 23. Decent game from Bam Adebayo with 19, and then for Denver, like I said, Denver won that game 112 to 108. But that was a game where Joker had his 27 and 12, eight assists, 12 rebounds, 17 from Michael Porter Jr. Interesting basketball player from my perspective. For Michael Porter Jr.
Do he ever pass? Do he
That's
ever
my
pass?
thing with Michael Porter Jr. is that coming out of Missouri, he battled some injuries. I can't remember exactly what the injury was.
It was a back injury. Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah, and I think at times is he still kind of affected by that injury. And you talk about a back injury, maybe so to the extent where they even changed his game, because I think coming out of high school, he was probably a more athletic type shooter, and after the injury, I don't know whatever procedure he had done, I don't know if it was rest or whatever, but it seems like with him, you look at his body, you look at he's got the athleticism, but he will not push the button like he's a catch and shoot guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in this series alone right here, I think he's going to be challenged on the defensive end, and he might have a little bit tougher time getting the shot off. There's so many things go across my mind. We talk about the strategies of both teams. When you look at how Boston couldn't settle a 2-3 zone at the pro level, and that's why I
That
say I just see Michael Malone having answers for a lot of different things, and
he
I
might
see
have
that.
some offensive sets.
Yeah, I mean, from elementary to middle school, high school. we learn these things at that level on how to beat a 2-3 zone. It just sounds like to watch NBA basketball players struggle with it. It only tells me that there's it's not a whole lot of coaching and a whole lot of ego managing going on. And it also speaks for the fact that the fundamentals of the game, when you talk about the talent level, these guys are these the best basketball players in the world.
Let
But
me ask you this.
go ahead.
And watching that Eastern Conference Finals, do you recall one time where the Boston Celtics even ran a pin down for somebody to get over?
No, you're talking about against the zone.
Not even the zone.
Or
Just
I
did
didn't
it.
see him run. I didn't see him run any offense
Exactly.
outside of a pick and roll.
That was
Outside of a
it.
pick and roll occasionally. And
That
then
was
in
it.
game 7, after coming off the big victory in game 6, I mean, I know Tatum injured himself on the first play of the game, but still at some point in time he finished the game. He played the game,
42
and
minutes.
they just never in none of the games they never really looked like they had any uh fluid anything fluid that they were going to on offense other than just if they were hitting shots, they were hitting shots. And like we talked about, when they hit shots, they played better defense. So I think we're not gonna see that in this series. I think we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna see a more competitive series. I believe. I think it's gonna come down to the bench and the reserve, the role player matchups. Those guys I talked about earlier, uh, Caleb
Martin,
Martin
Gabe
and
Vincent,
Gabe
Strus,
Vincent. Uh,
Robinson. And I'm throwing Kevin Love in there. And then with
well,
an asterisk.
Robinson ain't on the squad no more. So,
No, not
uh,
Orlando Robinson. Duncan Robinson.
okay, Duncan Robinson. Yeah, because he's came on strong. That's a name we didn't mention. He played big in game 6. He
He
really
kept them.
tried to
Yeah.
knock he really tried to knock the Celtics out. He tried to get it over with, but it was it was TNT's favor, the NBA favor that the 7 games out of Eastern Conference. So many things, man. So many different players outside of the marquee matchup. Your Jokers and Jimmy Butler, Jamal Murray, and I don't even think Jamal Murray coming into these finals are getting his just due. I really don't. I think he's going to have an opportunity to establish himself. It's going to be interesting to see who Miami marches out there to guard him and to get him going, because he's the one guard in today's game that will take advantage of the mid range. He will get to a spot. He tear your ass up from 3-2, but he will get to a spot and they will run offense. And
Right.
that's what's going to make this more competitive. Now, when you talk about Miami, their last matchup against Boston, I think they played to Boston's rhythm. I mean, at times they didn't run any offense either. I don't think they can afford to do that against Denver in this series.
Well, hopefully we get less of Bam turning it over. I know that's part of their offensive philosophy for him to bring the ball down the court, try and push pace, try and dissect a matchup right there at the top of the key. Most times he's not aggressive. He'll stop right there, free throw line extended, and do a dribble handoff. I'd like to see him. I like to see him crash and attack the basket a little bit more, but I'm just not sure what I'm gonna get because he has no touch. I don't expect him to finish, but if we can get Joker in some foul trouble, that might be worth it. So hopefully we get that again. Like I said, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent. Listen to these names: Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson. I think Kyle Lowry is going to have a sighting in this series because we probably looking at the end of his career. He probably can summon it up for one more time. He'll probably give you some big baskets. I don't know which game it'll be, but he only going to give you one game. You got Kyle Lowry. You got Kevin Love. Like I mentioned, Tyler Hero. We ain't even talked about Jimmy. Jimmy really be doing his thing. So,
Well, you got that right. I want to take out the time because I don't went a little long, but I want to shout out some people, man, before we get back into this matchup. Some people that supporting us. My man Fahim, gotta get Fah on. I wanted to get Fire on a while back. But before this finals is over, we're gonna get Fire on, man. I love to hear this dude talk basketball. I love to hear him talk the game. But Fire, we're gonna get at you. My man Fahim, my big boys, I got me a couple security guards and guys I used to coach back in the day. My boy Big Marcellus Ellis, from the city. Man, big boy. He was a offensive tackle. He didn't play football for me, but he did play a little league basketball for me. He grew into a big boy, man, big 300-pound kid, man. But these are guys that kind of support the show. Be shouting us out. My boy Damo, Sack Chaser Damo. He's a junior. He'll be a junior this upcoming high school basketball season. My boy B.O.B., my cousin B.O.B., man, these people been supporting us. They shouted me out and kind of shared the show. So we want people to share our show on Facebook. If you can hit the share button from the time when we go on, we appreciate it. And then join us on I'm not on Facebook, on YouTube at Watch the Game Podcast, WTG Podcast. But to get to the lineup in this game one, I think we pretty solid on the Heat winning tonight. I think the Heat gonna come in with a more of a better rhythm. When you talk about Bam out of Bayou matching up with the Joker, I think if Bam can get into this, I don't like to see Bam handle the ball, but if Bam can get into a speed drill and just get downhill, I think he can give Joker some problems as far as defending the Joker. I think they need to send more people at him in the backcourt. Like before he even gets to gets over half court, they need to kind of send a couple people.
Which might happen. You saw that press that it was a token press, but they broke it out versus Boston.
Yeah. And I just think if you can get him to change directions and it's kind of sort of play with his back to the basket, way out in the backcourt where he got to zig and zag, they'll get that ball out of his hands if they could do that. Then you will see, then you would probably see Denver running more like a traditional offense going through the guards. But we're going to pick Miami tonight, and we're going to kind of see how it goes, man. We've been on maybe about an hour, probably a little longer than we want. Now, so game 2 will be Sunday, and it's probably kind of get with them Sunday. Don't know what time yet, but we can drop that from on page and on my page and on your, and then get them ready so you get the notifications for Facebook and YouTube. But we got an interesting battle. We're gonna see some real basketball, I think. Not so much sports entertainment, like I said earlier. Two pretty good basketball teams. If we can, I want to kind of keep an eye on the ratings for this series, which we probably won't really know until like game 3 how this thing is going. So I want to kind of keep an eye on that. And you got any money on it? What you putting any money down?
Yeah, I'm gonna put my parlay together. I usually wait maybe like 15-20 minutes before tip off because sometimes it'd be a last minute scratch. Somebody might be come out with an injury report. So and so tweak the ankle in practice or whatever. But I'm definitely taking the Heat to cover tonight. I think Denver is favored by 8.5. I got the Heat winning. So as long as they don't lose by 9, that part of my parlay is gonna hit. Yeah, man, I'm gonna put it together again. I got Heat winning tonight. Really super, super, super excited about it. About to give you something to eat and get prepared and locked in for the game. Sunday, I think it might be a little earlier start time on Sunday, maybe 6:30 Central Time, if you're in the Midwest region where we broadcasted from. So we'll definitely be on before game 2. I want to say let's do about 5 on Sunday. But we'll be posting it to let y'all know when we coming on. Make sure you turn your notifications on. Again, we're trying to grow this thing. We want to connect with y'all. So we got some big plans, some things lined up for this. So Sunday we'll be back to
Yeah,
preview game 2.
yeah. And I wanna squeeze my man Fire in, but we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this series with Fire. But before we before this series ends, I want to get into a point where we could talk about the state of the game from a fundamental standpoint, to an
Yes.
entertainment standpoint.
Yeah.
We talk about fundamentals, just the way they play the game, the influences of the game. And I just think that the current fan of today is like they fans on steroids. And they like forget all of the contributions that have been, that's been the foundations of this game, from George Mikan to Bob Cousy to Wilt to Bill to Oscar. And I just want to get into a conversation, and I want my man Bob to join us with this, because I just don't think people appreciate the foundations that was laid to build this game to this point. And I haven't even said anything about Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I'm just saying, from George Mikan to Bob Cousy to Wilt to Kareem to Bill Russell, we're going to build this thing up. And before this 7 games is over with, I think the people that listen to us, I want them to have a better appreciation of the overall game. Last but not least, the reason why I brought that up, when you look at Joker, we have not had a featured big man in years. And he does it a lot different than most in the past.
Mm.
Joker is he's probably Joel Embiid and Joker are the 2 premier big men in the NBA today.
Hands down.
Play very different from what we know traditional centers to play. So what I'm hoping is that on the heels of game 1, that we can appreciate that position. Positionless basketball isn't for everybody. I just don't think it's true. At some point in time, you have to go back to the fundamentals. And this is why I want to have this discussion. Joker's doing what he's allowed to do, and it wins. Guys like Wilt, guys like Kareem, even Shaq sometimes would bring the ball up, but he did it for fun. It wasn't strategy.
Yeah.
I've seen footage on Wilt. I know you probably seen the big highlight
difference.
of Wilt when he get the ball and he do the little. They were not allowed to do those things the way the Joker's allowed to do it. So I just want to touch on that and bring Fawn. It's gonna get good, and we probably gonna have Fawn about twice, man. We probably gonna have to give Fawn twice, because Fawn's a firecracker, man, when we talk about this basketball. But unless you got something else, we want you to watch the game and enjoy the game. Game 1, I'm picking the Heat.
Go Heat. Hey, go Heat. Let's go Heat. It's been real, and we up out of here.
Watch the game,